What up, guys? This is a totally impromptu video that I am trying out. I have no idea if this will see the light of day, if I'm being 100% honest with you guys. But I just joined a little multiplayer drafts thing. Absolutely no idea how this is going to work, but I'm in a draft with like five or six other people, and I am playing as the Denver Broncos, and it's just the first 4 rounds, which makes a lot of sense to me. So we're going to go ahead and look at this. Already super unrealistic when Mason Graham is the first pick in the draft. A team that has Simmons and Sweat is not drafting Mason Graham with the first pick, especially when they don't have a quarterback and they could use any of the other top 3 names. Abdul Carter would never. That's just crazy. But yeah, we're going to just go ahead and look at it. So this was a live pick, I think. The Buccaneers. No, Buccaneers is not live. Excuse me. Oh, they made a trade, I guess. So the Jets traded down. I'm figuring this out in real time. Let me move my thing. I'm gonna go over here so it's a little easier for you guys to see. And I'll probably cut around just because it looks like there's going to be a little bit of a time gap here. And look, I love doing mock drafts. I love doing stuff like this. I'm going to treat it as real as I would and as honest as I would. And I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, Denver Broncos need a running back. They could definitely go wide receiver. I love Luther Burden to them at 20. Interesting to see what Jack will do for the Jets, but those are kind of the picks that I'm thinking about. I think in the second and third round, I would absolutely look at defense and look at edge or defensive tackle. I really love a lot of the names that are going to be available in the second round, so I'm kind of okay with that. Well, that's wild. I guess we can trade. Everybody else is trading. I don't have a problem trading. Let me hide this. We might end up trading. We got a minute to draft. All right. This is a little different than the way I usually do things. All of the names that I love are still on the board. If we traded down, we would still probably try and grab a Luther Burden or a Marion Hampton. I think there's enough names to where we could absolutely trade down. Wouldn't want to go to the 43rd pick. We would get a second next year to move down 6 spots. That's a real thing that I think Denver would think about. We got multiple picks in the first and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this as I like that. You're moving up. Yeah, I'm going to do that because it's just more fun for me, and I get to have more picks that I get to pick from. So I just earned the 33rd, and then I get 63 and 66. So that makes it a little bit more fun for this video. And again, I've never done this. This is kind of on the fly. I just saw this option and went with it. So we're going to see. We're hoping that Luther Burden did not fall to us. Okay, Luther Burden didn't fall to us, so we're probably going to reroute to running back. Omarion Hampton would be the guy for me. I think I actually have Caleb Johnson a little bit higher. I think it's interesting. The rankings are a little off, so I guess if Omarion Hampton doesn't fall to us, and there's a good chance they won't, because I would imagine these guys are going to look at it. Man, maybe I shouldn't have traded down. I love it, though. It was fun. Colson Leveland's the other name. Colson Leveland, we would add, we have a guy who knows how to use tight ends at the coach or at head coach. So Colson Leveland, Omarion Hampton, these are the names that I'm hoping are still there. Omarion Hampton is the dream. Omarion Hampton, if he's still there in 3 picks, we're taking him. Let's look at offensive line. Let's look at guard. Ooh, one more pick. We got to dodge one more pick. Are we going to get him? This is like real life. Ooh, is this going to happen? Let's see. And then, like I told you, I'm going to look defensive line for the Broncos. I like the Broncos defensive line. I think I'm always going to look at, the Eagles and see what they do. They always draft for needs a couple years in advance. I think that's what I would be doing if I took tackle or edge. They love the speed edge rushers, and there's going to be a lot of them. We are not trading again. We are going to take our running back for this team. Omarion Hampton is there. That's the guy that I was really considering at 20. That's why you trade down. That is the logic of trading down in the NFL. We got, in my opinion, a first-round running back. We got a guy who I think can go into that Denver Broncos offense and be one of the linchpins of this offense, really help out a Bo Nix, really be a centerpiece. Really, I could absolutely see that. And obviously, Sean Payton knows how to use running backs at a high level, knows how to use tight ends at a high level. That's why I was thinking tight end for a second there. But all right, we got our guy. Our next pick is at 51. Where are we at right now? We're at 42. So got a handful of picks. I don't think I'm going to trade again. I think I'm pretty happy with that trade. It worked out already as far as the names that I wanted to be there. And all right, so names that I'm going to think about. Guys that I'm going to think about. Love Trey Harris. To me, Trey Harris is the next guy on this board, and to me, there's a drop-off. And I've done a draft profile on him. You can check him out. I'm a big fan of Trey Harris and his upside. He's the only issue with that, and the only thing reason I kind of push back specifically for the Denver Broncos is he has a similar vibe to somebody who's already there and your number one wide receiver, Sutton. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. I'm a Dolphins fan. I like Mason Taylor, obviously, because that's Jason Taylor's son. Let's look at defensive line. Obviously, I said D-line was going to be a big conversation for me. I think, look, this is just the range. This is just where there's just so much talent in this spot. And again, I don't think we're gonna do it. Trey Harris went one pick early. I do want to grab wide receiver. I know Ao Manor, is a name. I know Isaiah Bond is a name. These are just not names for me that I'm gonna value in this spot. I think I could see a team doing it. I just think there's just better players on the board. That's just that simple. Landon Jackson's a conversation. Let's look at the edges. This Ole Miss kid is good. I'm not going to try and pretend to know his last name. There was a run. There was a run on edges. I kind of wish there was somebody else. Landon Jackson is interesting. If we wanted to go D-tackle, I actually like Darius Alexander in this spot. He's big, strong, physical. We got 26 seconds to make this pick. I think we're gonna go Landon Jackson. We're going to add to that defensive line. Again, I don't think that's the biggest need for the Broncos, but I do believe in really bolstering teams. Bolstering, I think, what could be a need later on. There's a lot of names on that defensive line, but let's just add to it. I mean, you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes. I want to be able to add some guys that can get after the quarterback. So that's just another name adding to the rotation. We got 3 more picks in this 4-round mock. And man, how fun is this? This is cool. I've never done I decided to make this video in 6 seconds after seeing it was available and just kind of trying it out. And I'm liking it. If Maxwell Hairston falls to us and our next pick is 63, so there's a chance. If he falls to us, we're taking him. He didn't. Nope. There's a drop off. Okay, so he's gone. Not gonna go linebacker. I don't love these names here. I still think there's some value in this range. TJ Sanders specifically, Darius Alexander specifically. Again, attack the strength of the draft. This is the strength. We're going to look at it. We're going to spend a lot of time looking at it. Xavier Restero is a name that I like. He's going to be your slot guy. Do I like him more than Isaiah Bond? I'm not exactly sure. And then we got to pick. Oh, this is the back end of the second. This is one of the picks that we traded for. So this is not real for the Broncos. This is not an actual pick that the Broncos get to make, but we got a little bit of time. That's, again, another name that I would think about. I do think we need to add wide receivers. So into the second round, like I said, the reason I wasn't willing to go wide receiver instead of Landon Jackson was because I just felt like the value wasn't there. We're getting to a point where the value is there, but we got 2 picks, 63 and 66 back to back. So one of them is probably going to be a wide receiver. I think you could go offensive line. I think there's a lot of help at interior. I'm just always going to be a fan of bolstering the offensive line. I wanted to add a corner to go opposite of Pat Surtain, obviously. Burks just isn't that guy for me. Dorian Strong isn't that guy for me. Sorry. In this range, I think we just missed. There's not. Maybe we can find a corner with the 122nd pick. I don't value these guys in that range, and maybe the NFL is going to disagree with me. I don't see it. I just don't. Mukaba. That's a name. That's a name that I like. We're gonna reject. We're not gonna make any more trades. I really like the safety here. I do. Man, Amor is still on the board. Manor still on the board, and again, this is where I like Manor. I have a draft profile out for him. Again, another guy who similar to Sutton, bigger body guy. I'd rather get the more. Wait, Xavier went. Damn it, Isaiah Bond. I just don't love in the second round. I don't love any of these names in the second, and Amor would be the name that I like. But he's not. I don't think he fits that need. I don't think he does. TJ Sanders is still on the board. That's insane to me. That is insane to me. We got 19 seconds. I got to make a pick here. Wow, really running into it. Really running into it. Mason Taylor still there. I'm gonna go Mason Taylor. That's a last second thing. I wanted to add another playmaking weapon for Bo Nix. I didn't love the wide receivers that were there. I love Mason Taylor as a big slot. Gunnar Helm, Mason Taylor, those guys are gonna go in this range. I like that a lot. And we have another pick in a couple spots that we got to think about here. Emory Jones is a conversation for me, but are we going to go LSU back to back? That shouldn't be a factor, but it is for me, dumbly. TJ Sanders. Really, I think is probably going to end up being my pick. I already mentioned the corners. I love this safety too, so I'm probably between these two guys. I'd honestly want to look at the roster and decide based on the roster. I think we obviously got it. We already got the edge. We could definitely go interior with TJ Sanders, who I like a lot. I think there's a lot of value in some of these other safeties down the board. But this is a special guy. This is a rangy, physical guy with ball skills, and I know he's a little smaller, but I like him. Smaller is kind of his only negative trait. We're not going to think too much about it. Look at wide receiver one more time to see the exact same names. I know they're not going to be there. I don't see a big enough difference between Isaiah Bond and a Jalen Royals, who probably could be there with our 4th round pick. Or, I don't know. I really wanted to get the Broncos a wide receiver. I don't love the wide receiver class. So we already got the tight end. That was the concept. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and take the safety. We like it. Oh, this is interesting. So just who we ended up getting. We got the running back. We added Mason Taylor. We bolstered some help. We gave some help to the defense. Obviously, we had a couple extra picks because of a trade down that I don't know that I think the Chiefs would ultimately do, but it was fun to kind of project and consider. I'm just going to tell you right now, if Darius Alexander or Alfred Collins is on the board, or honestly Shamir Turner, another guy, he can play all over the defensive line. If those guys are still there at 122, I'm taking them. And we have a long way to go between 122. Those guys should not be on the board at 122. I would imagine all of these names are going to be off the board. Obviously, at wide receiver, we're going to lose pretty much any of our value. And yeah, you could go Troy Horton, I guess. I'm going to like the offensive line options. I love the interior offensive line spots, and a lot of these tackles are going to move inside to offensive and to guard at the NFL level, so I don't love how they break it down in this one, but we're going to have a lot of names, I think. I think we're going to have a lot of names. Again, just to look at running back, if we wouldn't have gone running back in the first, just so many names. And I know we have the kid out of Notre Dame that we got in the 5th round. It's pretty clear to me anyway that there's going to be a running back drafted in the first 3 rounds for the Broncos. That feels locked in. I just got you one of my absolute favorites, and I think you're just going to be thrilled with that. The trade down, the miss on Luther Burden is really the only thing that I think impacts this draft. It's something that I think is worth talking about as we're kind of going through the draft. I'm gonna go big screen for a second and just talk about the different possibilities. And my pick's coming up here in a second, but just to quickly consider, you got the 20th pick in the draft, and I'm gonna be looking over here to make sure. Oh, it's coming. Okay, we got one more pick. But anyway, 20th pick in the draft. I think there's 3 guys that all of them could be there. McMillan is projected to go a lot earlier. I think he's going to fall down this draft board personally. We have Matthew Golden and then Luther Burden. Those are my 3 guys that are kind of in a tier of their own. And then you have Mbuka, who's my 4th, who some people think he's in that tier. I don't see that. I just did a draft profile on him, so you can check all those guys out on my channel to see my full thoughts on them. But I think ultimately you would probably go wide receiver there, because the drop off in options in the later rounds just is way more significant than it is with the wide receiver. I mean, it's just how it is. Like, look, these 2 names I still freaking love these 2 names, and a Scatabo and a Tootin. I mean, those are real options. Logan Brown's interesting. Charles Grant's probably going to end up being my pick. I think he's an absolute day 2 guy. So the fact that he's still here in the 4th round, that doesn't feel super realistic to me. Kobe Bryant, love the name. Not as big a fan of the player. Let's see if any of these guys fell. None of them fell. We're gonna go offensive line. We're just gonna add a piece to. He's gonna move inside. But yeah, that is our picks, and we don't have any more picks in this draft. I like this. You address the offensive line, you address the defensive line, and again, I don't think Charles Grant doesn't have to start year 1. But again, we're taking kind of that mindset of he's going to go in, he's going to compete, and I think competition breeds success, right? Landon Jackson, it's 2nd round. I get that that's probably not the biggest need, but I was looking at it and it's like, okay, well, the biggest needs for the team aren't exactly the best positional value. Landon Jackson at the 51st pick, I think should be a locked-in top 50 pick, so you got a little bit of value on a guy who is going to rotate in early on and be impactful. I like Mason Taylor. That was the only pick where I'm like, I was just up against it and had to pick quickly, and not 100% sure if that was ultimately the right move, but I liked it. And then we went back and added another DB for that secondary. And look, I've loved what we did. I want to quickly pull up, just now that we're done with that, quickly pull up the free agency moves that the Broncos made and kind of look at, in this scenario, what your 2025 roster would really look like. And yeah, looking at this, obviously, you signed Evan Ingram, 2-year deal. That's not a long-term option at tight end. Taylor could be. You did sign Hufunga to a 3-year deal. That's one I missed. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I missed that one. Didn't realize that. I knew about Greenlaw. Obviously, you gave him a 3-year, $35 million deal. Another deal where it's like, okay, older guy. I really like that move. And the last thing I wanted to look at was just, this is obviously the updated version with your free agent signings. So we have Evan Ingram as your big slot, and obviously I think there's a lot of opportunities to do a 2 tight end set. Evan Ingram has never been a blocking tight end. He's just primarily a pass catching tight end. So that's a pass catching weapon. We added Taylor, who I think can do that number 2 role early on, and then probably develop into more of a full on role. Again, looking at some of the other things that we did, Hufunga did not get great grades. And look, I guess, like I said, I'm never going to lie to you guys. I'm never going to bullshit you. I added the safety out of Texas because I didn't realize the spot had been signed. But again, I'm always going to be a fan of adding extra pieces, having as much depth as you can. And yeah, having an extra piece in the secondary, never a bad thing, right? Never a bad thing for a team. I did want to upgrade this cornerback 2 spot, and we talked about it throughout the drafting. It didn't go that way, and that was probably my biggest miss. And then looking at the offensive line, I think Charles Grant, I will do see him as a guy who's going to move into the interior. I do see him as a guy who's going to go a little bit earlier than we ended up getting him. I like him a lot. Look, if he's your fourth interior offensive lineman who can do it all, or maybe he can win out a job. Maybe he's just adding depth to a offensive line that's really good. Again, taking that Eagles mentality of let's double, triple up on positions that really, really matter down the stretch. We're trying to win Super Bowls here. Didn't get the wide receiver that I ultimately wanted for Bo Nix. I think you're going to have to run it back one more year for Sutton. Mims developed a lot over this past year. I think going into his third season, hopefully he can take on a bigger role as that true wide receiver 2. They got a couple tight ends, so we're going to be running that 2 tight end set. We're going to be running the ball with Omarion Hampton. Obviously, a huge upgrade over McLaughlin or Estime, who's your guy that you drafted a couple in the 5th round last year, who I really like out of Notre Dame, but Omarion Hampton is day one starter and a big part of your offense if you're able to land him. But overall, hey, super impromptu draft. Had a little bit of fun just kind of going through it. I really enjoy stuff like that. I love the team building aspect of the draft. I'm a draft channel, so we do this year round, and I was finishing up a different mock draft, saw that they were doing this live, and just kind of decided to start and riff, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, hey, like, subscribe if you enjoyed this. I'm a very big fan of the Broncos. If you could buy stock in the Broncos, I'd be doing it. I think they are on their way up. Love Bo Nix. Love what they're doing over there in Denver. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.